Great to have you on today, Gilly. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
really excited to chat. I know Pete is as well. But one thing that we want to start off with is going way back, winding back the clock to when you were in university, and in particular, talking about some of those challenges and just your general experience at university. And are there any moments from university that really stick out to you?
Well, yes, many. And just to set the scene a bit, coming out of a working class background in Sydney and sort of parochial Catholic schools with huge classes and lots of discipline, being the first in my family to go to university, got a good result at school thanks to the brothers who taught us and got a COB scholarship, got into first year law at Sydney University and at a pretty young age. But what I learned pretty quickly was that studying at university was very different to studying in a very regimented, disciplined high school. You're really on your own. And as a result of that, and not having those learning skills, and maybe some mates who like to visit the pub too much and play touch football, I managed to fail first year law. I got one subject out of four. I went to the news agency on the relevant morning and opened the Sydney Morning Herald, devastated to see the result. Not sure why I was surprised, but that's another issue. Had to go home, tell the folks who were more devastated than me, ashamed to tell the neighbours, all of those sorts of things, brought a family. But ultimately, I decided to go back, give it another shot, pay the fees second time round. Great grandmother helped me financially, which was good. And ultimately, I came to appreciate one of the most valuable lessons in my life, and that is failure doesn't have to be. And I'm not suggesting you can sort of get to this really quickly or easily in your life, but there's a great deal of learning in everything we do, including what we are tempted to only think of as embarrassing failures at the time. And ultimately, hopefully, we come to see them as positive things in a way that we can share with other people. Equally importantly, positive things that can help shape the people that we are, because it's not the only failure in our lives. One failure would be incredible. I mean that not capable of belief. It's just not real, is it? So the sooner you sort of get into loving yourself, including your failures, yeah, the more humongous a life I think we have.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tried it that way, it didn't quite work. Let me get on with it some other way. So does that, and that I went through then the second year, third year, fourth year law were a bit of a breeze. And so that was the start really of the academics of law. And of course, in third year law, I had to find articles of clerkship. Of course, coming from my background, that again was a huge, huge challenge, which didn't put me off, but it took a lot of resilience.
Yeah. And I think that's a good thing, especially for people like Fricker and like myself to hear kind of when you're at the very start of your journey in your career stuff, you might build up those failures in your head to be the be all and end all and kind of feel like the sky's falling in. So it's a good reminder for us all to just remember that the sun will come up again and keep moving forward. And eventually, hopefully, we will treat those failures kind of in the same way that you've come to treat them now as great learning experiences and things that you wouldn't change. I'm sure you wouldn't go back to first year university now and pass with flying colors. I feel like you'd think that having that experience made you into the person you are and helped your career be what it was.
Yeah, it's interesting that the next phase of it, articles of clerkship back in those days was like an apprenticeship. You had the third year and fourth year law, you needed a job in a law firm. And if you had lots of relatives who were lawyers and judges, or you went to one of those sort of GPS schools or something, there were networks which held you to their bosom very, very quickly. But coming out of Morris Brothers Parramatta, I think I wrote about 420 letters of application to get
Wow.
a job. I had about 42 interviews before I actually started at the predecessor firm to my current one on 25th March 1968. So I started writing in August 67,
Mhm.
got the job towards the end of March 68. But the interesting thing was that the particular job I got was the one that actually made the rest of my life. So every time I got a knockback or somebody didn't respond to a letter, I now see that it was not meant to be. It wasn't meant to be until late February or early March 68 when I read the ad in the Sydney Morning Herald from a little firm called Frank A. Davenport and Bant, and I applied to them. And I actually got that job. And that was one of the most crucial steps in my career as it then unfolded. So I look back as my early correspondence and those earlier interviews weren't failures. They were just not yet appropriate.